So I've been using the brand new Nothing Phone 2 for about 2 weeks now, and I wanted to give you guys my first impressions and overall thoughts, especially as an iPhone user and an Apple ecosystem kind of enthusiast and user. Clearly, we're on the 9 to 5 Mac channel, so everything that I use is very Apple based, but I've noticed that with this Nothing Phone 2, there are 3 reasons why I think iPhone users could or should consider this phone as either a main phone or at least a backup device if they need one, but let's get right into this video. So this isn't going to be a full review of this actual Nothing Phone 2. Stay subscribed if you do want to see that from an iPhone user's perspective, because I will be giving everybody a review on my thoughts on this thing and how I've been using it day to day and how it's kind of lived in my Apple ecosystem. But in this video, what I want to talk about is those 3 reasons as to why people should consider this, especially coming from an iPhone. So reason number 1 has to be the familiarity and design of this phone. So iPhones have a certain design language that we've gotten used to and accustomed to, right? It's some sort of metal railing on the sides to make sure that it feels premium, and then a glass front and a glass back. And iPhones have always felt like a kind of like a piece of jewelry, a piece of high-end material that you've always wanted to have in your hand. And ever since the iPhone 12 came out, Apple went back to that industrial design language that they had with the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5. And with the Nothing Phone 2, when I picked this thing up, yes, apparently it was a little bit different than the Nothing Phone 1. I actually never used the Nothing Phone 1, but the Nothing Phone 2 kind of got rid of that super kind of squared off and 90-degree angle, right? They went a little bit more with the rounded edges. Yes, we still have that perfect railing on the outside of the phone, but it kind of gave us a little bit of a bubble up on the rear glass to make it a little bit more comfortable in the hand. But to go back to the familiarity piece, it just feels a lot like it belongs in the iPhone ecosystem, in the iPhone world, and I think they did this on purpose. Because if you look at the other main Androids, especially here in the US market, right, you have Samsung, which is a completely different look and feel than the iPhone, right? It's a lot more squared off, it's a little bit thinner on the sides because it kind of tapers off. Same thing with the Pixel series, right? The Pixel 7 Pro and the Pixel 7, they have that same kind of design where it kind of gets really thin towards the end of it, and it just feels different from an iPhone overall. Versus the Nothing Phone 2, I think they made it because they want people to kind of make this the iPhone of the Android world, right? They want people to kind of hold this thing, feel confident, feel comfortable, make sure that it's a unique design, right? It's a fashion piece first, almost kind of like how Beats used to be the fashion statement piece. If you had a B on your headphones, then you knew that you had Beats headphones. I think they kind of went with that route, right? They wanted to go very similar to the iPhone, so there was a very small kind of maybe learning curve or a familiarity curve, for lack of a better term, when moving over to the Nothing Phone 2. And I think they accomplished that perfectly, right? From the front of it, it looks very similar to an iPhone. If it had a notch, it would look very, very similar to an iPhone because you do have the uniform bezels along the entire phone. It's very, very minute. It's very thin. It's very clear and premium. For the most part, if you're just looking at this, especially with the screen blank, it looks kind of like an iPhone from the front. And then if you go around to the sides, it looks very similar, right? You still have kind of similar antenna bands, you have the same similar metal feel and look. It still feels premium. Yes, you're on USB-C versus Lightning, but overall, it does feel very similar in the hand. And then on the rear, it's all a glass back, right? So yes, the Nothing Phone 2 went with a little bit of like a rounded glass back towards the end. But again, that was for comfort, but at the end of the day, it still looks very similar to an iPhone. Yes, they have their glyph interface, which we'll touch on a little bit in a second, but even the cameras look very similar to what Apple did with the iPhone 12 series, which is they put 2 cameras right on top of each other. But yes, these are probably a little bit bigger than what the iPhone 12 series gave us, but overall, from a look standpoint, if you're just looking at this thing and you don't really know what's going on, and you kind of like ignore the glyph interface, but these cameras look like iPhone cameras. You can say that it's a copycat move, or you can say what I've been saying, which is I think it was done on purpose, where they kind of chose design elements from the iPhone that make it iPhone and make it feel premium and make it kind of like the phone to have, especially in the US market. And they wanted to mimic that, but then put their own twist to it with the glyph interface, with some slight design changes. So overall, the design is making it easier for people to want to go from iPhone to the Nothing Phone. And leave a comment down below of what you guys think of that description. Is the design something that you're really drawn to? Forget about the glyph icons. I'm talking about just a footprint, the design, the screen to body ratio, the camera bump. It's all very iPhone-esque. So reason number 2 has to be the software experience. And some of the software aspects that really surprised me is, we'll get into the actual kind of user interface, but there's 2 features that I haven't seen on any other Android phone. First one is the compatibility with AirPods. So they have a section of their settings menu called experimental features, and there's 2 big ones that jump out. The first one is AirPod support. You can turn this on And basically what it does is it treats AirPods like a native feature. So you're still able to control the AirPods how you would on an iPhone. You can turn off and on the transparency mode and the active noise cancellation, check the battery life, connect it, disconnect it, kind of do everything. And then it lives in your Bluetooth settings. So you're able to kind of see them in real time and kind of get individual battery life indicators for each headphone, same with the battery case. So I just think that integration alone, being able to use your AirPods Pro almost as if it is an iPhone, especially for iPhone users switching to the Nothing phone, is a very big deal. Yes, I know that Nothing has their own kind of headphones and their own competitor in that space, but a lot of people already have AirPods Pro. A lot of people that are coming from an iPhone kind of live and die with their AirPods. So being able to bring that over and make it a familiar experience, I think was extremely smart. I don't know how they did it technically, but it is very smart. And then also for somebody who's a Tesla user, there is native Tesla support. So you can actually sign in and connect to your Tesla. And yes, you can actually download the app and there has a widget for the app and things like that. But you can actually control your Tesla from the quick settings menu once you sign in. So having that as a native support in the UI and in the feature set is great to have. And then to kind of speak on the software itself a little bit, as you can see, I've kind of set up my home screen very similarly to how I have my iPhone home screen set up, right? I have two widgets on the left-hand side that give me the weather, and then I have my Tesla widget just to kind of get an indication of battery life and things like that. And then on the right-hand side, I have my mainly used apps, and then I have my 4 dock apps on the bottom. So yes, Nothing's new UI is great because it does kind of grayscale everything out. I think it's very cool. It makes you not really want to jump into applications for no reason, which I think was the purpose and the point. They wanted to get rid of all those colors. You can easily switch back to it in the settings menu with the icon packs, but I really like what they did here. And again, the name of the game that they wanted to do, I believe, is just simplicity, right? Don't overcomplicate things. That yes, there is a section of Android where people kind of go crazy with the custom icon packs and go crazy with being able to like overclock Android phones and kind of treat them as computers and things like that. But I think what Nothing wants to do is, again, take market share from iPhone, right? Be able to make it simple, easy to use, kind of turn it on and know where everything is, understand that it's a phone, you can text with it, you can take pictures, you can go on your main social media apps. Because when I think about it, for myself personally, my use cases are very tool heavy, right? I go on my main social media apps, I go on my main tools. I don't have many niche products or apps that I use that are only available on iPhone or only available on Android. I'm not doing anything out of this world with these phones. So to me, they're tools, and those tools, you know, they work the same, right? They have all the same apps on Android versus iOS and vice versa. So being able to have a familiar experience with the operating system and with the UI is also making it an easy transition to go from iPhone over to the Nothing phone. All the apps that I need are right here. I already use a lot of Gmail applications like Google Maps, like Gmail, like I mentioned, and a bunch of other Google services. So I just signed in one time, it pre-populated everything and all my data, and I was good to go. So the UI experience is also making it easy to transition from iOS to Nothing OS, because yes, it is Android, but at the end of the day, they put their nice little skin over it, making it easier to use. And the third reason why I think the Nothing phone is a good consideration for iPhone users is because, I don't know about you guys, but when I first started kind of paying attention to Apple, there was a lot of excitement around the brand, right? Everything was kind of revolutionary. I was a big fan before the iPhone came out, and I did purchase the first iPhone in 2007. So being able to kind of see the transition and just having that excitement, right? That build up, that going from generation to generation, like the first iPhone to the iPhone 4 and 5, huge and drastic differences throughout, because you're just innovating and making big leaps forward every single time. And that was part of the attention and the draw for Apple, right? It was the excitement, it was the innovation, it was the new feature sets, it was the new hardware, the combination with the software, and kind of surprises that we didn't see coming along the way. Now everything is pretty cut and dry, right? We already know everything about the iPhone 15 lineup. It doesn't seem super exciting. Yes, we're gonna get USB-C probably and some other things, slimmer bezels, but at the end of the day, it's still just gonna be an iPhone. When you open it up, it's gonna be the same exact experience. So bringing that excitement back with Nothing and Nothing OS and the Nothing Phone 2 and that brand is something that I think is a real feature in my opinion, right? Being able to see how they kind of interact with their customers, kind of seeing what they're doing with their keynotes and their presentations is very different. And yes, maybe from a visual standpoint, Nothing Phone 1 and Nothing Phone 2 maybe kind of look the same, but you can really tell a lot of differences. You can tell that they're really kind of getting into the software development. They're spending more time and money and R&D into there because they're adding new feature sets that are not only just kind of nice to have, like the glyph interface, but also very productive. And I can see use cases past just kind of like a gimmicky feature of having a ringtone, right? So overall, I think the glyph interface isn't kind of a game-changing feature or innovation. It's just a nice to have and something that differentiates from all the other slabs of glass and metal that we have on the market today. So those are the three main reasons. You have the design familiarity of the Nothing Phone 2, the UI and the software familiarity, which makes it easy to transition, and then just the overall excitement and kind of hype around the brand that makes you really want to find out what they're doing next, right? The headphones are awesome. Nothing Phone 2 has been great. Some sort of smartwatch is probably on the horizon for them. They're going to slowly build out their ecosystem, and I think it's going to be very fun to watch. So again, for me personally, I don't know if I would make this my end-all be-all device, my main device, just because, again, I'm heavily in the Apple ecosystem for better or for worse, right? My iPhone, my Apple Watch, my AirPods, my Mac, my iPad Pro, everything just kind of talks to each other at the same time. And the Nothing Phone, yes, it works kind of well with these devices, and it works decently well, especially compared to other Android phones, but it's not 100% one-to-one, right? Obviously, there's some things missing like iMessage and AirDrop. And one of the things which I didn't really think I would miss too much, but is actually a big one for me, is compatibility with the Apple Watch, right? Being able to use my Apple Watch with my iPhone is something that I use on a daily basis for multiple reasons, right? You have the fitness aspect to it, the health data aspect to it, the ability to use your Apple Watch as a viewfinder, which I miss dearly when I was using the Nothing Phone 2 as the main device. So if they're somehow able to use the Apple Watch and have some sort of compatibility the same way they do with the AirPods, then we're really kind of, got to think about what we're doing here. But again, I'm sure they're going to come out with their own smartwatch and their own version, so we'll see what happens as time goes on. But overall, the Nothing Phone 2, from an iPhone user's perspective, I think it's probably been the easiest transition from iPhone to Android because of Nothing in their hardware and their software, the UI, and the overall excitement. Because when I tried to switch to something like the Samsung or the Pixel or even like the OnePlus Nord and things like that, I just went right back to the iPhone immediately. So this has been the one phone kind of keeping me in the loop because it's just so familiar to what I already know. But that's going to do it for this video, everybody. Like I said, stay subscribed if you guys want to have a full review and see it on the Nothing Phone 2 and how it works in my Apple ecosystem. I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys about what 3 things I really noticed and really kind of resonated with me as an iPhone user. But that's going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know that you made it to the end. And if you guys want to watch some more Apple content like iOS, iPadOS, or macOS, click on one of these videos right here. But until next time, I'm Fernando. I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Oh, and I didn't even talk about the Nothing Phone price. For the price to performance ratio, that's for the next video. I'm out of here.